Alrighty. Well, I suppose, for those of you who haven't really guessed it already, I might as well finally tell you. What are you doing? What this business is that I'm going to be involved in. Come here, pussy. She ran off on me. So anyway, as you've sort of gathered, it's something that's clothing related, that's more of a higher value than most things. There's a bit of learning curve, but my sewing itself doesn't seem to be such a problem as it appears. Although there's a bit of a design learning curve in all of this. I have attempted to recruit one young lass to no avail for assistance in prototyping this. Unfortunately, it's a bit windy out here. Those of you may remember someone I referred to as Pippi Longstockings, who's very good with art and whatnot, and she is exceedingly shy. In fact, my mother can't get her to say a great deal. My mother has rarely ever talked to her because she's so shy. I haven't seen her for a year, but yeah, unfortunately it seems that is a problem, that I haven't seen her for about a year. Try again next week, but I don't think I'm going to get her to do any prototype testing. So it's all great that I can sew, but I've got to learn design aspects. And the long and short of it all is that, you know, I'm good with solar power. I am not completely in the dark with electronics, more particularly with digital electronics and software. I'm all right. I'm not talking about friggin' run-of-the-mill Windows computers. I'm talking about things like Arduino, things like Pickaxe, other strange things like that. I am not too bad at. You know, when I was doing electronics class, you know, didn't really understand a great deal about analog electronics. My friend did, and then I had done work experience at a computer shop, because in your last year of high school here you do work experience. And I talked to the guy there, and he said, you know, I'd done the class and it just went straight over my head with the analog electronics. But digital electronics, he understood it completely. And back in the day when I was doing all that, there was no Pickaxe. And I don't even know if there's many Pickaxes around now. There was no Arduino for sure. Hell, there wasn't even any friggin' Android tablets, let alone smartphones. But they come out with a AND gate, NAND gate, OR gate, NOR gate, an orgasm, no. And what they call a flip-flop. And then there was an exclusive NOR gate or something like that. All exceedingly simple digital chips. Unbelievably simple. No brains at all. But just for basic processors and all that, you know, you can add a 555 timer chip. You know, and you could do some basic stupid shit that you can probably achieve mechanically with switches. You know, you could bring back some old telephone guy from the 1920s and he could probably work out how to make a mechanically switch machine that would work as good as some of these NOR, NAND, and/or gates. But that was the extent of what they taught us, because that was the extent of what they had. And yeah. Anyway, as some of you may or may not know, I've got a Cert 3, Certificate 3. Would have been Certificate 4 if I hadn't have taken a redundancy package in competitive systems and practices, which for all intensive purposes is designing production lines for efficiency. That's all it is, really. My sister has a Cert 4, at least a Cert 4, I thought it was fashion design. It turns out it's design and production. I don't know if it's fashion design and production, but it is design and production. So anyway, cutting to the chase, what would be high value but a small item? Think about it. What would be something that I would need somebody else to test that I couldn't really test myself? Well, the long and short of it is, it's bras. Simple as that. I am not joking when I say there are ones in the United States for, girls who are really climbing the alphabet, so to speak. I'm talking H-I-J, double J. You're looking at $200 US for some of those. In all my research and stuff, I saw this thing that my sister has been recommending nursing bras because she said every single one of these things looks like shit, and there's only one brand in the whole country that has any that look half reasonable, and they're cornered the market and they've got no competitor. And she says you definitely want to look into it because she says, I can remember, like a video I watched the other day, women are like an untamed ocean. And I thought, what the fuck's that mean? And then it continued on and said they're 95% emotion, 5% of logic. Oh, I hope some women are not that bad, but this is a thing. Women are more touchy-feely emotion than men who are just, a bit more logical, mathematical, and as a result, depending on the perspective, may seem more cold-hearted, but, they can make decisions without emotion attached a lot easier as a result. But, as a result of women being more emotional, well, that's the market you're trying to cover, and so you got to do it accordingly. And that's why pretty bras are so much more higher priced than not pretty bras and things like that. It's a bit funny in a way. It's sort of an industry that, like, if you look into it, they all women want equal rights for work and this and that, and there's some women who are becoming tradespeople, and that's great. Women want to get in the army and all this, and women should be able to do what a man does. No worries. Wait till you move into this sector as a man. It doesn't quite work the same. It's there's times there where I feel like I'm a transvestite trying to join a bikie gang, honestly. But, sometimes your own fears are your own fears. And, some people, you walk into these joints and they're sort of looking at you like, oh, shit, is that a guy? And others, it's, once you've been there 2 or 3 times, the girl behind the counter be talking to you about this and that and fucking music genres was one she was talking about the other day and blah-de-blah-de-blah, and they got no troubles with you, And I went to a place, yesterday and got an astronomical amount of shit. and rings and sliders and elastics, and I also got webbing, which I've always known as cotton tape. It turns out they call it webbing. Thank God I got it for 2/3 the price I had been getting it. But the long and short of it was I spent basically $500 worth of fucking money on elastics. Pretty much. Trust me, the bag's fucking full. And you don't get a little packet like this, you get big fucking reels of this stuff. So I'm not going to have any troubles with running short on shit, although I didn't get many bra back hook and clasp things, but some of these things, the price is a little bit too much for what it is. And you know, me being me, everyone else is going, how can I get a ring or a slider? And I'm going, can we get a ring by cutting a fucking pipe into multiple pieces? But then it's going to have burrs. And then I'm looking up plastic injection molders to get, you know, truckfuls of them made directly. Not go and buy them fucking retail or even buy them wholesale, go direct to the manufacturer and say, can you make this injection molded part for me? And squirt out, you know, injection mold like 100 at a time, you know. Then you see your price drop pretty good. But, yeah, the fact is that, well, to be quite honest, I think a ring was 8 cents each and a slider was 9 cents each. Not much, is it really? But they put it with the elastic and you buy the whole thing for $2. And I thought, fuck, I've been paying through the nose and it's like $2.50 and you're telling me you want me to buy 100 and there's still $2? Oh, fuck that. I said, I'll put it together myself, don't worry about it. But, yeah, it's a bloody learning curve, and my sister's gone and bought me a bunch of ones from, well, opportunity shops, you know, like your Goodwill, your Selvo. She said, you're not wasting money buying new ones to work this out. I'm going to go and get a whole bunch. So she go and got like 8 of them for me. And I'm looking at all those, trying to sort of, you know, work out how they're put together and whatnot, and fucking hell. You look at a shirt, and it's big pieces, and you just sew it together, and it's no big deal. You know, it's nice, long bits, you know, like I've got a friggin'... Oh, by the way, I got one of the company shirts today, finally. This is not a company shirt, but, you know, look at the size of some of these blooming sleeves and shit. I mean, you know, there's long stitches. There's one that runs right up the side of the shirt there. If I hang that the right way. You know, and the same one, boom, right to the flipping armpit. It's all very easy. And then you get these little things that are tiny. You know, you can fold them up and hide them in a breakfast bowl. You know, and I've seen boxes, they come in little box, you know, it's like a frickin' 5-inch by 5-inch box, you know. That's about bloody 2 or 3 inches deep, you know, and you pop it out and poof, out comes a friggin' moulded cut bra sort of thing. Not that I've been buying new, but I've seen, you know, ones shown by shops who have, you know, YouTube channels trying to advertise their wares, and they, you know, bang, pull this little box out and bingo, it all unfolds out the box. And there's a certain way that you got to flip the gore, as they call it. Some people call it the bridge. It's a bit in between the cups, and bang, put the two together. And then you stuff all your straps in the middle of the cup and then put it in your little cardboard box. I tell you what, it's like trying to compare a friggin' it's like trying to compare a friggin' torch that's a giant sized torch to a bloody smartphone. You know, like, everything is small. There are so many stitches. There are so many bits. You cut something 1/4 of a mil out and you fuck the whole thing. You know, it's very fiddly, very small. And it's not like you can just go buy big rolls of fucking cotton and just go, bada bing, here you are, $5 a metre. She's right. You look at this stuff and it's $35 a metre for this and that. I'm trying to work out how to lower the costs. And I realise lately that 80% of bra cups are rigid fabric, which means not stretch. And my sister says some of it's low stretch as well. And there's two kinds of main fabric that people don't sort of realise. There's what they call a knit. And, well, when you look under a magnifying glass, it looks knitted. And then there's your normal run-of-the-mill fabric with your warp and your weft, which is your lines going either way. I forget what one's what. It's got a grain, and the grain's parallel with the selvage, which is the funny edge you get. Chances are I've got meters of this shit around, so. That there'd be your selvage. This is like a gold stuff I've got sitting up on where I usually hang all my socks to dry. And your edge is your selvage. So your grain's going to go that way. And you often see these little dimple marks. And that's where it's been pulled through the loom when they've originally, laid it all. And I've actually seen those machines in action, and holy shit, they go fast. And it was for a job I was at. It's not even wearable cloth. It's specialised cloth that was made for making paper, actually. It was used for paper pulp being processed into different forms of paper. And so they, long story. But anyway, if your selvage is going that way, then your grain will go that way. And if it's a stretch material, it'll stretch most 90 degrees to where your grain is, and your grain's the same line as your selvage. Now that's normal fabric, and that'll fray like shit. And so you got to fold the edge over and make what they call a hem, where you fold and you fold again, and then you sew it. Unless you can do overlocker stitches. But anyway, the ones called knits, they don't fray. I mean, they don't fray for 5 years, or more. They never fray. It's just the way that it's all stuck together. It isn't just one's going vertical and one's going horizontal. It's all almost, it's basically knitted together. And most of those are synthetic. And the long and short of it is you can just trim that and leave it fucking open. And as much as I wish I could just do that with everything, your normal fabric is a lot cheaper than your knits. And I mean like 4 times cheaper sometimes. So, different ideas. Like I said to my sister, I can't just go from nothing to nursing bras because that's specialised sort of stuff in a way. I must admit that, as I was saying in my research, I found there is a pair in this country. These aren't freaking big ones, or there's just like a D cup or something like that. $220 a fucking pair. There's money in them there hills, as I like to say. Gold in them there hills. Not that they're actual hills, but in all of this, there's a real wave, as I've said, of robotics coming into this, and you can be a dickhead and just say, well, I know how we can do it. We can just, run a motor and the motor will just pull through. Doesn't really work like that. The needle goes through, makes a stitch, then the feed dogs, the little prongs that are underneath your foot come up, boom, move. Another stitch, move. Another stitch, move. So it's not a smooth movement, it's sort of shakes along. In that, those of you, and I know there's at least half a dozen of you or more, who know what I'm talking about when I talk about old computer mice/mouses. how they got that little thing inside, the little wheel with all the little holes in it, you know, and you got your little light dependent resistor and your little LED the other side, or whatever the hell it is. And, you know, it's a counter, basically, that you've got inside those. And if you've ever had a good look at some of the ABS systems in cars, they're no different. They usually use little magnets. And, well, your brake rotors might let go of a little bit of swarf over time, and it ends up on there, and that's why my ABS doesn't work. Not that I really give a shit. But this is the thing. Everybody's like, well, we can get the robot to push it through. Yeah, but the robot's then going to go, oh. And then I start thinking back to the days of 555 timers and NAND gates and NOR gates and computer mice that had actual real balls in them, and then kids I remember this in the 90s, kids would take the ball out of the computer and you'd be sitting there on the computer and actually bang, you're hitting the head. And they'd actually take the balls out of the computer mouse and throw them around the fucking classroom. This is some of the white trash kids I went to school with. That's the shit they do. The fucking teacher would go right off. We're going to put it back in the mouth, otherwise the fucking computer's hopeless. Blah, 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 blah. You know, and you get ones that drag, and there'll be one that sticks. So you take the ball out, and the computer teacher, what are you doing? I'm cleaning the fucking ball. It's not spinning properly. And then I'd actually realise it wasn't the damn ball. It'd be shit that built up on the rollers. And you know these little chrome friggin' shafts in there, like big bits of wire. And there'd be shit built up on them. So I'd turn them slowly, and I'd scrape all the shit off with my fingernail or wipe it out with my shirt, and then put it all back together. That I had a computer mouse that actually fucking rolled properly. Those of you who my age would remember what it was like to have a mouse that didn't want to fucking roll properly. Holy shit. Oh shit, it was good fun those days. But I look at all that and I'm sitting there thinking, you know, these feed dogs, like I've seen these machines at park when I'm up at my mechanics, you know, the old man trying to fix that other one, the husky that's got the fucking homemade bit in the front to change directions and change stitch length. You know, and you're sitting there with the cover off and you're just spinning it all around trying to work, and you're seeing the feed dogs, pum, 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 pum. And I'm sitting there going, hey, I've got fucking micro switches. Some of you know what a normal switch is versus a micro switch. And this is the thing, like I've got some micro switches laying somewhere from an old stereo system, but I can go and buy more. And they're little switches that you can move them like a single millimetre, and it'll trigger them. And I'm looking at this feed dog going glong, 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 as we're trying to mess with this system and get this sewing machine running. And I'm sitting there going, all it needs is a micro switch. And I can count exactly how many stitches that machine's done. And get the Arduino processor. Probably won't use a pickaxe. But get an Arduino processor and, you know, tell it, let this do 35 stitches. When the 35 stitches are gone, bang, cuts off power to the motor. You know, lifts up the foot, does whatever it wants to fucking do, you know, resets using another switch to make sure that the needle's out before. You're going to have a machine with half of the flaming back off it and switches all through it. But you could program this machine to do it. Fuck the robot. Program the machine to go a set amount of stitches before the foot goes up. You turn the piece, press the button, the foot goes back down, off you go again. If you go and look up linear actuator, LINEAR space ACTUATOR, you'll see some intriguing little motors that'll go all the way one way until they hit a limit switch and then they stop. And they can go all the way the other way and hit another limit switch. And they're DC motors, and they wire up the positive and the negative the right way to make it just sit there going up and then down and then up and down, or up, down, and then, you know, wait for something else to happen. And that's only limit switches. And, you know, I look at some of these European systems and I was thinking along the lines of limit switches. In fact, there's a teacher who shows how to use an old pie plate, you know, like as in the disposable aluminium, alumina, whatever you want to call it, aluminum, disposable plates that you get your pies in. Or, you know, like your barbecue frickin' disposable barbecue tray thing. He's actually made switches using that shit and packing tape to run a linear actuator hooked to a motor, you know, for peanuts. Not that I'd be using it, but it's amazing what some people can manage to do on YouTube. And, you know, well, you can have some limit switches and you could play around with linear actuators, and you're probably going to have to use them to raise the foot and lower the foot. You know, you've got canting options, you've got software running through a microprocessor. You don't need a robot doing stuff to the machine. You need the machine to be programmed. That's what you need. Plus software, plus limit switches, and all your limit switches go into your umpteen inputs that you've got, and off you go. You program it. And so long as you got someone there, which may be yourself, to do the most mundane tasks, you know, off you go. And the interesting thing is, if you get enough machines to do all this, you don't have to sit there waiting until one finishes. You can have 5 running, and one stops. Boom, boom. You turn the bit of fabric, press the button, goes off to do the next bit. Next one, press the button, and you look after machine 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. And by the time you're dealt with number 5, number 1 needs its next process that's got to be done with a hand. If you don't work out how to automate that as well. There's all the chance in the world things can go up shit creek in a barbed wire canoe. I might as well note that if you're expecting to see any bra models or whatever, yeah, don't, you know. Because, you know, if you want to, you can't go all titties and beer on them if you want to remain in an industry. Sometimes you got to be serious. And I'll put it like this, there won't be any cleavage photo dump videos or anything of that nature. You in this country, you can't do that sort of shit, put it on Facebook in your town and expect to not be proclaimed the next town ho. You know, and while Gordon Ramsay will tell you that maybe you should, you know, you should follow your passion in life, maybe there's someone who needs to follow his passion and go and open up a strip club called Titties and Beer. I don't know. They can do what they want. It doesn't really concern me that much, but, you know, one of the things I always think about when dealing with Elvis and all this stuff is, and I think about it in general, not just Elvis, and not just people that I have known on YouTube, but myself as well, you know. It's better to be your best. It's better to maintain integrity and to be the best you can be. Martin Luther King even made a speech on it, you know, about being a street sweeper and be the best damn street sweeper that, you know, can ever be found. And, you know, then one day when you get up to the pearly gates, you'll be sweeping the streets around the pearly gates, you know, and, you know, having pride and dignity in your job and in what you do and everything, you know. And that's how I feel that I should be. and as many people as possible can be. And while realistically you can do what you want, you know, you can go and smoke crack for all I fucking really care. You know, it's your choice, but, you know, this is one of these things that I believe that we should be the best we can be. And, you know, in the situation that I'm going to be in, you know, people trust you to keep your mind on the job and not end up with photos of their tits on the fucking internet. It's as simple as that. So, unless some of these girls that I'll eventually be using want to be on the damn internet, you know, the only thing you're going to see on the internet might be their face for 5 seconds, but I doubt that's even going to happen. There's another young lass who doesn't live too far from me who is growing quicker than she probably expected herself, and well, I don't know, quicker, but I mean, you know, she's climbing the alphabet ladder, and I think she would be good in helping me make larger ones, because it's sort of one of these things that you can't beat $5 bras they got here, like, but they're all shit. Like my sister says, you know, they're for people who have only got $5 in their pocket, who are just looking for something right now, but the reality is the elastics on them are shit, and they fail, they're uncomfortable as hell, you know. And the same token, I realise that I've got to have a very basic, simple, super simple, well-built bra that I can sell to people who want to buy made in Australia that isn't too overpriced. And the more I can automate, the cheaper it's going to be. And the easier it's going to be for me too, except when it all fucks up and tangles up and I've got to reprogram and fucking refix and but you know what I'm saying. If you're going to do anything, the next wave, the only wave that you can catch to outrun China, and, well, China's going down the drain now, Vietnam's becoming the newest place, and Bangladesh, is, you know, if you're realistically going to do anything clothing related, even shirts, even hats, you've got to automate it as much as possible, because, you know, that is not the next wave, it's the only wave that you're going to be able to catch to realistically be in the garment industry and make garments inside this country without them being absolutely poisonous priced. But the big ones, even the big ones made in China, are still poisonous priced, and so that's something that, yes, I can make money on, but you got to put a whole lot more stuff into it, and you got to understand weight balance and movement and stuff like this a bit more than you do with an A cup or a B cup, you know what I'm saying? And I sort of get that feeling that I want a basic bread and butter kind of one that I can sell A, B, C cup, that you can make a massive amount on it and just get the wheels turning on something that's saleable and something that you can get somewhere on, as opposed to bras are so much harder than shirts and pants, it's not funny. And to then try and aim straight for big bras and nursing bras is, you've already thrown yourself in the deep end going for bras, and then you go for big bras and nursing bras and maternity bras and all these complex ones, then you've gone in the deep of the deep end, you know, and it might be biting off more than I can chew. But, you know, this is the thing, I sort of am aiming just for a basic one out there, just so I can get the ball rolling, you know, and learn from other designs, from my own ideas, from what I put together, from what works with girls who wear these as testers, to get something practical and get a feel for the basic concepts that have got to be followed to make a successful one, before I start going for the real big. But in the meantime, you know, I might be sort of deviating in both directions, because sometimes sometimes you can only learn things when you've got a real definite weight, and it becomes a real obvious thing when you have higher weights as opposed to some little Vietnamese girl with A cups who you got no damn weight at all, you know. But yeah, I don't want to sort of do what the Russians say, you know, if you chase two rabbits at once, you'll catch neither, you know. So yeah, but I've basically given myself to the end of this year, or well, maybe part way into next year, to have things rolling and underway and doing stuff. And you know, it's enough to sort of learn about bras on top of build microprocessor controlled, maybe partially robotic sewing machines. I'm biting off a lot as it is already, and that's why I'm going back to 3 days. Well, have gone back to 3 days a week. So anyway, that's any of the mysteries sort of you know, solved, and well, not solved, just revealed, I suppose. And yeah, I've got a few prototypes sitting in the other room actually. But anyway, I'm not giving any design secrets away, and if I do, that'll be for another day.